roll 'em.
What's up, Doc? What's cooking? What's up, Doc? Oh, you're looking for Bugs Bunny bunting. Duck is gonna hunting just to get a rabbit skin, but now the rabbit's gonna get. What's up, Doc? What's cooking? Hey, look out! Stop! You're gonna hurt someone with that old shotgun. What's up, Doc? We really mean it. What's up, Doc?
Hello, friends. Are you ready?
What's for dinner? I'm hungry.
Yum, 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 yum.
Delicious.
Let's go, everybody. Yay! Pumpkin chiffon pie. Happy Thanksgiving. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner. And today we are making pumpkin chiffon pie. So Canadian Thanksgiving has passed. I had made it for Canadian Thanksgiving. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a hit. But American Thanksgiving is coming up. So I thought I would make this pumpkin chiffon pie. So maybe you can add it to your menu for Thanksgiving or for Christmas coming up, of course. Or just because pumpkin chiffon pie is so amazing and it's fall and we can have this wonderful dessert. Now, I wasn't a big fan of pumpkin pie. I always found the filling really heavy and pasty, and I mean, I didn't mind it, but I wasn't one of those persons. I wasn't a person who went, oh wow, pumpkin pie. I love desserts, and yes, you can laugh because you by now know that I'm type 2 diabetic. But I love custards, puddings, you know, these airy mousses, custardy desserts, creamy textures, creamy pies. I do love cakes as well. I'm a chewy cookie person. Like, I love my chewy cookies. Not that I don't have some cookies that are crisp, and they are great, but I'm giving you an example. So when I came across this particular recipe, I tried it out a few years ago for Christmas, and it was fantastic. It's exactly my type of dessert. It's dreamy, it's creamy, it's, you know, you get the taste of pumpkin, you get the taste, the sweetness, you get the taste of the fall spices, but it's not this, like I said, this cakey, pasty, heavy, pumpkin-y filling. It's a dream. It's like eating a dream. So this is and ever since I started making this is one of my favorite fall desserts. I will have this over and over again, and I could tell you I won't do it, but I could have the whole pie by myself. Now, I'm making it because, well, one, because it's fall and I love it. Two, I'm making it for you guys because Thanksgiving and Christmas is around the corner. But most of all, I'm making it for one of my favorite people in the world, Anthony. Anthony, this is for you. And hi, and I love you very much. Now, this recipe gives you 2 pies. Of course, you can cut the ingredients in half and make one. But if you are having a Thanksgiving dinner and you've got, you know, a family of 20, why not make 2? Or maybe you want to serve one to your guests and then you want to have an extra one in the fridge just for you and your family. It's up to you, whatever you desire. So, pretty easy process, and I thought there was something else I wanted to tell you guys, but I don't remember remember right now. So let's get to the ingredients. I hope I remember everything. So for the crust, I have made this. I'm going to give you 3 options for the crust, but I've used 2 out of the 3. So the one option is 120 vanilla wafer cookies, 12 tablespoons of salted butter melted and cooled, and half a cup of sugar. Of course, you would, the 120 cookies should come out to 4 cups of crumbs. So you would put your cookies through a food processor, grind them up, put them in a bowl, add your sugar, and then add your melted butter, mix it all up, and then take your pie plate and press the crumbs into the bottom and the sides of the plate. I'm not doing that today. That's the option. The second option is buy frozen pie shells at the supermarket. Follow their baking instructions. So you bake the shells, you let them cool, and then you add your pumpkin pie filling and then you put it in the fridge to chill. So that option, of course, is easier, but you're using an oven. The third option is right here, and these are ready-made graham cracker crumb crusts that you can buy at the supermarket. This is what I'm using. I've had it with this, and I've had it with the baked pie shells, and they're both good. I actually like the graham cracker crumb. It gives a little oomph to the filling, because the graham cracker crumbs, they've got that sort of caramelly taste, and it goes really well with the pumpkin pie. The only thing I want you to be careful of, these pie shells, they're thrown around at the supermarket, and maybe even when you get it home, you might damage it. I will show you when it's time to fill. This has got it has a protective layer on the pie shell. So when you buy it from the supermarket, none of the pie shell is exposed. It's pressed into a aluminum throwaway pie shell, and on top of that pie shell, they've put a clear cap to keep it in place. When you take this cap off, you will use it to seal your pie and put it in the fridge. I will show you. But when you take this off, you may have a broken crust. You may have cracks in your crust. You may not. If it's just one crack, I wouldn't worry about it. If it's really broken, well, you're either going to try to assemble it again, which I wouldn't, or you're going to throw it out, or you're going to use it for something else. So that's the only thing to be careful. And you're going to say, as a blind person, how do you know? Well, if your hands are gentle enough, you can feel around very gently to see if you can feel any holes or anything. But you have to be careful, because these are very, very fragile. They could, if you put just a slight amount of pressure, you could break them up. So you might want to either risk it, just take the chance, or ask a sighted person, is this shell intact and can I use it? Okay, I'm going to put the shells aside for now because we don't need them quite yet. So I've told you about the crust. Now I'm going to tell you the rest of the ingredients. So for the meringue, we need back here 8 egg whites, 2/3 cup sugar. This little jar over here is my cream of tartar, a couple of pinches of cream of tartar, and a couple of pinches of salt. So that's your meringue ingredients. Now we're going to go over to our filling ingredients. We need a cup of whipping cream. We need 8 tablespoons of gelatin, unflavored gelatin powder. We need half a cup of either Drambuie or water. I'm going to use Pardon me. I'm using water today because I don't have it. And then you need a cup of sugar, white sugar, 3 cups of 100% pure pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling, just pure pumpkin. You should look at the ingredients on the can, and the only ingredient that it should say is pumpkin. And then you have your spices, which I have all together in a bowl. You need half a teaspoon of salt, pardon me, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, half a teaspoon of ground allspice, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, and 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Oops, sorry. And over here in the pot, we have 6 egg yolks. So that's our filling ingredients. And for the topping, cinnamon, ground cinnamon, and a tub of Cool Whip. Now, the day you're making the pie is when you're going to take your Cool Whip out of the fridge, out of the freezer, and you're going to put it in the fridge. Because you're going to make the pie today, but you're going to eat it tomorrow. This needs to chill for 8 hours or overnight. So you aren't actually going to top your pie with the Cool Whip and the cinnamon until tomorrow. Okay? So I just took it out of the freezer and I'm just going to place it in the fridge. Give me a second. All right. Cool Whip is in the fridge. And we don't need the cinnamon. I just had it out so you know all the ingredients. Of course, the ingredients are in the description box. Before we start, if you have a big container of unflavored gelatin, you can measure out 8 teaspoons by scooping and leveling off. Or the most famous brand that you can get at the supermarket is Knox unflavored. I don't know. I can't remember if it says original. Is it this way? Mm-hmm. I think it says, it may say original gelatin or something like that. It's just your regular unflavored gelatin. In this package, you get 4 pouches. Maybe I can, hold on. I can actually show you. I have another one. Okay. So this is an unopened one, but I'm going to open it because nothing's going to happen if I open the box. So if I open up the box, I can take out the paper pouches. They're just paper pouches. I'm just shaking it so you can hear. So it's a paper pouch with gelatin powder in it, unflavored gelatin. The recipe calls for 8 teaspoons. This package comes with 4 of these pouches. 4 of these pouches are 8 tablespoons. So you need 1 full box of Knox unflavored gelatin, okay? So that way you don't even have to measure out your gelatin. And I just wanted to make it easier for you guys. Now, if you're cutting the recipe in half, obviously you would use 4 teaspoons of gelatin, so you would use 2 of the pouches instead of the 4. Okay, so let's get started. All right, I've got my 6 egg yolks here, and I'm just going to use, because I have them in my non-stick pot, I'm going to use a plastic whisk just to whisk them up. You don't want your egg yolks to be, you know, intact. So I'm just whisking them up and dissolving them, okay? And don't worry if you don't dissolve them completely because you're going to keep stirring. But give it a nice good... If you can hear, I'm just whisking vigorously stirring. Okay. We no longer need the whisk unless you feel comfortable using the whisk. I am going to use a wooden spoon for the rest of the recipe. So, pardon me. In our egg mixture, we're going to add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Some people call it heavy cream. Some people call it whipping cream. When you see recipes, it's the same thing. Heavy whipping cream, heavy cream and whipping cream is the same thing, okay? So I'm gonna fill up a cup. So I'm just pouring a measuring cup. Sorry, I'm pouring into a measuring cup cream. And I felt it come up to my finger. So that's 1 cup of whipping cream that goes into our pot with the eggs. Okay. What did I do with my cap? Okay. I'm just going to move the pot out of the way for a second because I need to, yeah, okay. I'm going to give this cup a rinse just with water from the cream. Just a quick rinse. And I'm going to quickly dry it with paper towels because we're going to need it again. I do have almost everything measured out. The only thing I didn't have measured out for you guys was the cream and the pumpkin. And I just felt that was, well, the cream won because I didn't want it sitting out at room temperature. And the pumpkin because I want to show you guys how easy it is to measure pumpkin. Because it may sound hard, but it's not. Okay, so I'm setting the 1 cup aside. And I'm going to just put the cream in the fridge so it doesn't go bad on me. So give me a second. And when I say a second, it literally is a second. Okay, so wooden spoon. Alrighty. Now, I've got our 6 egg yolks slightly beaten in our pot with our 1 cup of cream. I'm going to add our spices. So 1.5 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay. Let's just give those a stir. Okay. And I'm going to add in 1 cup of white granulated sugar. In that goes. I do intend to try to make this with coconut sugar eventually. I'm stirring while I'm talking, just giving it a stir. I do intend to make this with coconut sugar. I think that it would really, really emphasize the pumpkin taste because coconut sugar is almost like using brown sugar, so it'll give it a nice caramel note. And it would definitely go with the graham cracker crust. So when I do that, I'll let you guys know on another episode. So now I've got the pumpkin. So in here we've got our sugar, cream, spices, and eggs. So I do need to use my electric can opener. So give me a second. Plugging in. Okay. I'm going to open up the can of pumpkin. 100% pure pumpkin. I'm using, I'm using just a brand from the supermarket that's very famous. So electric can openers are a little difficult to use. And it just depends on getting it in the right spot and helping it, there it goes, to clip in place, and then it'll start opening it up. And you can tell by if the can starts turning on its own, in which case mine did, so now we're good. Okay, didn't open up quite. Yeah, it did, okay. All right. I'm just, there's pumpkin on the top of the cap, so I'm just pushing it off with my finger. Okay, that goes into the garbage. Sorry, I'm just turning my back on you guys. Not because I don't love you, but because I needed to grab a napkin. And I'm just going to unplug the can opener and get it out of the way so we don't have any accidents. Okay. I've got a plate. plate, a regular tablespoon, and that 1 cup that we put aside from the cream. So put your can of pumpkin on your plate, but not in the center, sort of in the towards the edge. And hold your cup in your hand and start scooping pumpkin into your cup. Now remember, we have a plate underneath just in case we spill some pumpkin. And you can go quickly because if you do spill some, no accidents will happen. Now, I've added in about 3-4 tablespoons. I'm just going to level it and see where I am. So I'm pressing down slightly and I'm leveling. And I see that it can take just a touch more. So I'm going to add in another amount, half a tablespoon, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Now, I've spread it. And that's pretty good to me. It seems like 1 cup. So add this 1 cup right into your egg, cream, sugar, spice mixture in your nonstick pot or whatever pot you're using. Okay, so that's 1 cup. We need 3 cups of canned 100% pure pumpkin. Now, if you want to make your own, go ahead. It's a pain. It's a process. So I'm going to fill up the next cup while I'm talking to you guys. You have to bake the whole entire pumpkin in the oven. And you have to get rid of, you have to open up the top of the pumpkin and get rid of the seeds and all the stringy, snotty stuff. And once you clean out the pumpkin properly and you've roasted the pumpkin, I don't remember if you clean it out before you roast it. I think, I can't remember right now because I told you guys I'm very forgetful. So, but once you roast the pumpkin, you would let it cool down completely and then you would scoop out the pumpkin and measure out your 3 cups. And I'm sure that using fresh pumpkin may give it an even better taste. But unfortunately, I don't have a pumpkin. To be honest with you, I don't feel like roasting my own pumpkin. So I've got the 2nd cup. I'm going to add it in. Okay, so now we need 1 more cup. We're almost done and ready to start cooking. Okay, and let's do the 3rd cup. Pardon me. So this can is a little more than 3 cups. I've got the big can. I think it's, this particular one is, I don't remember what it is in ounces. I think it doesn't even say ounces on it. I think it says 780 or 760, something like that, ml, which is more than 3 cups. So obviously you're going to throw away a little bit of pumpkin, or I've got something better for you. Add sugar to it. Brew some coffee, dissolve some cocoa. Add pumpkin cinnamon, some cream. So the pumpkin puree that's left over, some cinnamon, some cream. Cook it up a little bit. And you've got yourself a wonderful spiced pumpkin mocha latte thing, which is fantastic. I've had it before. I don't remember the recipe off by hand, but I'm letting you guys, I'm giving you an idea. But if you look it up on the net, you will find something. And by the way, this particular recipe I found on the internet. The cook and the author of this recipe, forgive me, if you ever come across my channel and you see that I'm making your recipe, I am not taking credit for this recipe. It's not my recipe. I found it on the internet, but I tried it and it's amazing. So sorry, I don't remember who posted this on the internet. I don't remember the website or the person's name, but thank you very much for this recipe, whoever you are, because it's amazing. So I'm adding in my 1/3 cup of pumpkin. Okay, pumpkin is in. So Zoe's gonna rinse off her hands again. Now, how much pumpkin is left in the can? I don't know, a tablespoon? Something like that. Like I said, make coffee. If you want, throw it out or make coffee, and that's it. Okay, so now we're gonna move over to our, we're gonna move over to our burner. We're gonna take our pot, put it on the big burner, turn on the heat to medium. Okay. If you want, pardon me, you can start stirring right away. It doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna, pardon me again, until this starts boiling, till it comes to a boil, I'm just gonna remind you guys that in here we have 3 cans of pure, 3 cans. No, we don't have 3 cans. We have 3 cups of 100% pure canned pumpkin, 1 cup of whipping cream, or otherwise known as heavy cream, 1 cup of white sugar, 6 slightly beaten egg yolks, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of ground allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's our pie filling. Now, I'm just stirring. Once this starts to boil, I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, which I'm going to do right now. Because right now I have no danger because it's not even hot yet. So right now I can stop stirring and set my timer so I can have it ready.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes.
Okay? I've set the timer for 10 minutes. Once I feel that this is starting to boil, I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes and I'm going to stand here stirring for 10 minutes. Right now I don't have to stir constantly, but once I feel that this is starting to boil, then I have to stir 10 minutes constantly. So at that point, I think I'm going to put you guys on hold. Pardon me. Actually, until this starts, let me get something else ready. You're going to need a small saucepan, very small, with a bowl that fits on top of your saucepan, but very little. You don't want the bottom of your bowl, I'm using a stainless steel bowl, you don't want the bottom of your bowl touching the bottom of the saucepan. We're going to do a double boiler thing. In this, let me give my, in this stainless steel bowl, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of water, which I have somewhere here. Yes, okay. 1/2 cup of water. Oh, crap. There's no water there. Or there. Okay, I know a better way. Give me a second. Let me check on my pie so I don't, or my pie filling. Okay, it's not boiling yet, so I have a second. So I'm just gonna, sorry, I'm just gonna fill up half a cup of water from my fridge. Just give me a second. Alright. So, my water wasn't available to me. So in that stainless steel bowl, I'm going to add, I'm filling up the measuring cup. Full? Mm-hmm. Half a cup of water. Right into the stainless steel bowl. And these are clean. Okay, let me check on my pie filling. We're good. It's not starting to boil yet. So, I'm sorry, I'm driving the cameraman crazy back and forth. So I've got the half a cup of water in my stainless steel bowl. I'm going to add to my saucepan about 1 inch of water. How do I know it's 1 inch? Well, I'm adding and putting my finger inside and feeling. I think that's pretty good. Just don't want it to come up too much when it starts to boil. So I've got this water in my little saucepan, and on that bowl, on that saucepan with the water, I'm going to place my other stainless steel bowl with the half a cup of water. And I'm going to put it on the burner, but I'm not going to start it yet. That's for our gelatin. So I'm just checking on the pie filling. It's pretty much combined, but it hasn't started to simmer yet. You just don't expect a rapid boil. You have it on medium. You expect it to start simmering. And it's not quite there. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to actually stop the timer from the 10 minutes. You're going to take your gelatin powder, which I've pre-measured, and you're going to sprinkle it over your cold water in that bowl that's sitting on your saucepan. Okay? You just add the whole thing in and press your timer for 5 minutes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Okay? Don't touch it for 5 minutes. I will tell you what you're going to do next. I have a teaspoon somewhere. Sorry. Today, I'm really giving my cameraman a workout. My apologies. So I'm going to go back to my pot with the filling. And I'm listening. And I think it's just starting to boil up. It's not quite there yet, but maybe a few more minutes. But it's getting there, so I'm going to be a little bit more on top of it now. This will thicken up a little bit.
4 minutes left.
So it's ever so slightly simmering. I can almost hear some bubbles. It's not a strong sound. But it's getting there. Anyway, so once this gelatin sits for the 5 minutes. We're going to stir it up. And then we're going to bring our, actually I should start it now. I'm gonna turn on my heat to medium so it can start getting hot for the water that's in the pot. Okay, so I'm not touching my gelatin, but I've turned the heat to medium so the water underneath can start simmering. Now, normally you're supposed to have the water ready and put the gelatin over the water, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then put it on top of your simmering water. It's up to you which way you want to do it, but the way I just mentioned is the proper way. The way I'm doing it, well, that's Zoe's way. Because Zoe can. Because it's my kitchen. And because I have the experience to do it. So I wouldn't worry about it.
2 minutes left.
Okay. Now it's a little bit harder for me to hear my pumpkin pie filling if it's boiling because I have the other burner going. And the other burner, the water is making a sound. But I can tell you from experience, I feel a difference in the texture. So it's pretty much starting to boil. So I'm actually going to wait till my timer's up and then I'm going to set the 10 minutes for this. And I have to tell you guys that every time I lean over my pot to listen, to see if it's boiling, the smell is absolutely fantastic.
50 seconds left.
Okay.
40 seconds left.
So the timer's almost finished and this has started simmering. I can hear the slight bubbles. So I should, at this point, I should be setting the timer for the 10 minutes. But we're okay. So I'm going to wait for this to finish and I'm going to turn it off, set the 10 minutes, and I'm just going to dissolve the gelatin in the half a cup of water. Now, if you have the Drambuie, it'll give the pie a richer taste.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so I'm going to take a teaspoon now and I'm going to stir the gelatin. Now you're going to feel it all clumpy. Don't worry about this. When the water underneath gets hot, this is going to dissolve. But I am giving it a good stir. Sorry, I need to set the timer for the filling.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes.
Okay, now you shouldn't stop stirring once you set the timer for the 10 minutes. So if you want to do your gelatin and have it ready before, go ahead. Because you might not have that experience. And again, I'm giving my gelatin a stir and I can feel that the water underneath is getting hot. So back to my pie filling, stir. So it doesn't stick and burn. Sorry, back to my gelatin. And please don't worry about the clumps. This is all gonna melt
9 minutes left.
when the water starts to simmer and boil. And also, it's going to melt into your pie filling. So again, I'm scraping and stirring. And back to my pie filling. So you see I'm going back and forth. I should be stirring constantly with the pie filling, but I didn't do the process of getting the gelatin ready either before or after. I decided to do it simultaneously because I can, and I can show you that it can be done. However, it is easier if you do it either before or after, I have to admit. But it doesn't bother me, so I'm doing it this way. But please go ahead and do it whichever way suits you. Yeah, see, the water underneath here hasn't even started boiling.
8 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for that water to start boiling until I give it a stir again. I'm gonna concentrate on the filling now. It's boiling. I can hear it. I can feel it. And you gotta do this for 10 minutes. I was gonna put you guys on hold, but because I decided to do the gelatin, that's why I'm not putting you guys on hold now. So now you're gonna watch me stir for 10 minutes. Well, almost, because hopefully soon the gelatin will melt. And then hopefully this will be done as well. I'm a little bit ashamed that I don't remember the author's name of this recipe. I'm so sorry. I don't want it. I don't like taking credit for anybody's recipe. I think that
7 minutes.
chefs post recipes out there for us people to make them, but I think that they deserve the credit. It's not that they don't want us to make their recipes. I'm sure that whoever posted this doesn't have a problem with me doing the recipe on YouTube. Maybe her only complaint would be to give her the credit. Unfortunately, I don't remember, and I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna turn down my heat to medium-low, just because my pumpkin pie filling is boiling a lot, and I want to see where my water is at this point. It's not even boiling yet, but already the gelatin is softening up big time. So we're almost there with the gelatin. I can feel it now. It's not like clumpy. It's dissolving. I can stir it easily.
Left.
If you can hear my spoon, see? Okay, leave it there. Back to the pie filling. And I didn't hear how much time I have on my timer. But I'm actually going to turn off the heat soon on the gelatin. Because the water underneath is hot enough that it did the trick. It dissolved my gelatin. So my burner was a little bit too high for this, so I turned it down to medium-low, the pumpkin pie filling, so I don't burn it. See? This is all liquid now. I mean, you might have a few little sprinklings of fragments. Don't worry about it. This will all dissolve. But basically, this has become a good liquid now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it sitting on the hot saucepan, the water with the hot saucepan, but I've turned it off because my gelatin has dissolved. So I'm just going to keep stirring it until my pumpkin pie filling is done, to not let it clump up again. So I'm going back and forth from pot to pot, basically. See? I'm stirring. Look how quick I can do it. There's no more big, huge clumps. And if some has stuck to the side of your bowl, don't worry about it. As long as it's not a lot. Like I have a piece that got stuck and didn't dissolve. That's okay. We don't need it. And we've got about 4 minutes left. or 3 for our filling. So you do need to do this process with the gelatin and the pumpkin pie. Right now we're cooking our pumpkin. We're cooking our egg yolks. Despite contrary belief, you can eat raw eggs. Nothing will happen to you. Unless there's salmonella. If you have a trusted chicken farmer that doesn't use antibiotics, pesticides, and God knows what else, those eggs, organic farming from a trusted person, a family member, you can eat raw eggs and nothing will happen to you.
3 minutes left.
We've got 3 minutes left. Sorry about, should have done it a different way for you guys, but that's okay. We're almost done. Now, I do buy organic eggs, but I don't know where they come from. But nothing, I've never gotten sick. So I'm cooking up the pie with the eggs and spices, of course, dissolving the sugar. Now, the egg whites, we're not going to cook. You're going to say to me, what? Beating egg whites. And while I'm talking to you, I'm still going back and forth between the pumpkin pie filling and the gelatin mixture. Egg whites, when you beat them at a high speed with white sugar, they cook. Egg whites are so sensitive, and white sugar, white granulated sugar, is so powerful that when you beat sugar with egg whites, the sugar and the motion of the high-speed beating actually cooks the egg whites. So please don't be afraid, because we're going to put the egg whites into this filling later. And you're going to say, but she didn't cook them. Well, I did. It's not rocket science. It's not my opinion. If you read up on it on the net, most top chefs in the world will tell you that egg whites are safe to eat after beating. I mean, they're safe to eat before beating. But if you have the worry, then I'm dissolving that worry for you. Again, stirring my gelatin, and we're almost ready. I think we've got either 1 minute and a half or something like that. All right, guys. Finally in the final stretch. So I gave my gelatin another stir, and I'm going to wait for the timer to be up, which will be up in a minute.
50 seconds left.
And this is boiling. You can actually hear it now. See? So, oops. Damn it. Sorry.
It's okay.
So this is all nice and thickened up. Sugar's dissolved. Spices are distributed. Everything is fantastic. Now, if you don't have my experience, guys, you do need to stir this for 10 minutes. I know I was stopping because I know I can. Because I have the experience with this pie. If you're afraid, finish this. I'm turning off the heat. Turning off the timer. At this point, if you don't feel comfortable with what I just did, start your gelatin. So, I'm going to give my gelatin a final stir, and I'm going to add it in to my pumpkin pie filling. And I will check in a second if there's more. And stir this up really well with your gelatin. Alrighty. I'm going to take it off the heat because we don't want gelatin to boil. Okay. Now you need to let this cool down for 2 hours. Well, I shouldn't say for 2 hours. I'll tell you in a second. Let me just check my gelatin bowl and see if there's any left. Which there is a little, and I'm pushing it out with my hands. Whatever comes out. And you are going to lose some. I'm telling you guys right now. That I can't get off my fingers and out of my... Yeah, give me a second. But when I say you're going to lose some, I mean... I don't know, half a teaspoon. You're not going to lose a lot. Is there any left in the bowl? Good. So I'm just giving it a final stir with the excess gelatin. Gelatin that I added in. Okay. And I'm going to set my timer for 2 hours.
1 2 minutes.
No. 2 minutes, sorry. 2 hours.
1 2 hour.
And I'm going to press start. And I check it. And it's working. So. This filling. As usual, I dropped my kitchen towels. This filling needs to cool down completely. It may take an hour. Check it at the 1 hour mark. Half an hour I think is too little, but check it at the 1 hour mark. You might need an hour and a half. You may need the full 2 hours, depending on how hot your kitchen is. I am gonna take it off the stove completely because, of course, my stove top is gonna give us, you know, there's a heat source. So, I put it on my counter on one of those. How many times have I said I'm going to remember the name of these things? The silvery metal coily thing that you use to put pots on your counter so you don't burn your counter. I'm sorry, guys. I really should look. I've drawn a blank. I really should look that up, and I don't remember. So, where did I put my timer? Where did I put it? Oh my lord. Thank you. Somehow I got pumpkin guck on my hands. So I'm just going to put you guys on hold. I'm removing my wooden spoon. I'm gonna throw whatever's on the wooden spoon with my finger. I'm gonna throw it off. And it's very hot, be careful. Ouch, ouch. Yeah, at this point, if you want, you can taste. No. Okay. I've thrown everything off, but don't put your wooden spoon in the sink, okay? Rest it somewhere. I'm just going to rest it on a plate. Okay, so I'm going to come back in about whatever it is, an hour and a half, and we're going to continue the recipe with the egg whites, okay? So I'll see you when this cools down. Guys, we're back. So our pumpkin pie filling has actually been sitting for an hour. I checked it at the 1 hour mark and it's ready. It's not hot at all. So we're ready to move on to the next step of our recipe, which is our egg whites. So I'm just gonna move the pumpkin pie filling for a second because we need the mixer. And oops. I've got the mixer ready to go. I just need to plug it in. I've got my egg whites, 8 egg whites in a bowl. And I've got 2/3 cup of sugar. Sorry, I'm just plugging in. Give me a second. Doesn't want to insert. What's going on? What am I doing wrong?
I think they're too pinched close together.
Yeah, something.
Here.
It's okay. Let's try again. There we go. Alrighty. So mixer's plugged in. I've got my egg whites. Now, there's an argument that some people say your egg whites should be cold. Some people say your egg whites should be soft. Both ways work. Before I even start beating my egg whites, I'm just going to pour a little salt into my hands, into the palm of my hand. And I'm going to grab 1 pinch throw it in my egg whites, and 2 pinches. So 2 pinches of salt. I've got my sugar next to me, and I'm also going to add, before I even start beating, 2 pinches of cream of tartar. 1, 2. So we've got 2 pinches of cream of tartar, 2 pinches of salt, 8 egg whites, and 2/3 cup sugar. And I'm going to start beating. My egg whites are cold. They're not room temperature. It's up to you. And I'm going to start beating on level 3 of mine. So 3 for me is medium. Actually, sorry, I'm going to beat on 4. So, again, this is going to be loud. Bear with me. So I'm giving the egg whites a good beat to dissolve the cream of tartar and salt. And I'm going to start adding in sugar a couple of tablespoons at a time. So I've added in 2 tablespoons of sugar and I'm beating. And another one. And another one. And of course, as I've said many times, move your mixer around and turn your bowl. And I'm going to add more sugar. So I'm just scooping up sugar with my tablespoon and adding it in. I pre-measured the sugar to 2/3 cup. And some more. So you're adding your sugar in slowly. And I'm going to add in the final sugar. I hope you guys were able to hear me over the mixer. I added in 2 tablespoons of sugar at a time. This isn't ready. I stopped it because I've added all the sugar in. What you do at this point, right now, actually, if I shut up and I move the mixer, you can hear the undissolved sugar. Listen. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I can hear undissolved sugar. So I was going to stick my finger in to see if the sugar's dissolved, but I don't need to because I just heard it. So I'm going to continue beating. Okay, I'm going to stick my finger in, and the meringue is pretty much ready, but I'm feeling for undissolved sugar, and there is still a little bit, so I'm going to give it a little touch more of a beat, and we're done. So I'm just, I stuck my fingers in, it's thick, the meringue is ready, but the sugar's not dissolved yet, so I need to beat it a little more. So if you want to know the texture, one, as I move the mixer around, it feels thick. And if you put your finger inside, it feels like whipped cream. And it's the sugar is dissolved. So we're done with the mixer finally, thank God, because I know that probably drove your ears nuts, just like it did mine. So I'm going to unplug the mixer so that we don't have an accident. I'm going to push anything off the beaters with my finger. I'm pushing any egg whites that are on the egg beaters into the bowl. You might not get it all off. Try your best as much as possible. And you might have to shake your hand to get it off, which is fine. That's good enough. Okay. Just getting the egg whites off my fingers. And put the mixer aside. We don't need it anymore. And I'm going to bring the pie filling back. Alrighty. And I'm going to grab a spoon. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of egg whites into my pumpkin filling. 2 tablespoons. And I'm going to give it a vigorous stir. I'm just thinning out the filling a little bit. So I'm just mixing those 2 tablespoons in, and I'm vigorously stirring. Now, we said this a million times, you don't want to lose the air out of your egg whites. So now I'm going to dump the egg whites into my bowl, just using a spoon to push it all out. Most of it falls out in one clump, but you still need to empty out the bowl. It doesn't all fall out with once. And of course, as usual, I'm going to push whatever's off my tablespoon. And now I'm going to use my hands to get whatever's left in the bowl. And I'm just pushing it into the pumpkin pie filling. And it's very nice and fluffy. It feels like nice, airy whipped cream. And remember what I said, we beat this at a high speed with the granulated sugar. It's cooked. So don't be afraid of it. Now, when we start filling our pie shells, this may not all fit into your pie shells. Guys, this is really good stuff to throw away. Put it in a tupper and eat it without a crust like a mousse. Or dip cookies into it or something. And by the way, I remembered the lady's name who posted this on the internet. Her name is Blair. So Blair, wherever you are, thank you for this recipe. Okay. So now we have a pot of pumpkin pie filling with egg whites. Now, you know the trick by now. Fold. Fold. Press down a little bit. Fold. So you're going around and folding. Around the edges and folding. So now you want to incorporate the egg whites as best you can into the pumpkin pie filling. You really don't want streaks of egg white. So you're going to have to either get sighted confirmation or trust yourself that you've folded enough. If you are visually impaired and you have a little bit of contrast, you can see that it's not a smooth mixture yet, one color. So you're going to keep folding over and over again, turning your pot until this all mixes up and incorporates. You're going to say to me, after so much stirring, are you sure you're not getting the air out of the egg whites? Well, this is the tricky part. You're not sure. However, if you're gentle, you should be able to incorporate it without losing the air. So I'm really gently folding. Now, I do have some light perception. Therefore, I actually can see a little bit of contrast. And I can see that this is starting to turn one color. But it's not quite there yet. But it's almost there. So you can kind of see how long I'm folding. I'm trying to go all around the pot and be thorough, but gentle. And I'm scraping the sides with my spoon, and then I'm folding and pushing towards the middle. And I'm going to have a look and see what I can see. Now, don't worry if you've got some egg whites all the way at the top of your pot, even though I am scraping the sides. And I am using my fingers to push it down as well. See, I can pick up a streak of egg white. So I'm just covering it. And from what I can see, not that I can see very much, guys. The problem is a little bit on the edges. I think, though, we're pretty much... Oh, there's one. I think we're pretty good. And I have to get sighted confirmation. Even though, again, so I'm going to mention this 1,000 times. I've made this without sighted confirmation. Nobody has complained. They've all swooned over this. So, obviously, I must not be doing something wrong. If people are going, can you make this again? Anthony. Okay. Now, it's going to take me a while to fill up the pie shell. So I am going to put you guys on hold. But before I do, I'm going to grab, so this is the pie shell, the way I bought it at the supermarket. I've described it to you at the beginning of the video. Around the edges of the pie shell, the foil is turned over. So you got to lift the foil to release the cap that's inside holding the pie in place. The pie shell, sorry. So I'm opening it up. I'm pulling the aluminum. It feels like it's aluminum teeth as I go around. I'm opening it up. And now I can gently lift the cap off. Tap the cap. It's got some crumbs on it. Now remember what I told you about there might be a crack in it. Okay? Now, at this point, I've got my mom here, so I can ask her, but I can put my hand in gently. The bottom feels good. And I'm feeling gently the sides, and the sides feel good too. So we're good to go. And I'll get sighted confirmation just to prove it. Is there any holes?
You're good.
Any cracks?
Nope.
See? So I basically gently touched it. So you're going to grab a ladle, preferably, I have a plastic one in my hands because I'm using a non-stick pot. Scoop up pie. Okay. See what I just did? I went to pull the pie shell. I went to pull it so that I can bring it closer to me. And I added too much pressure and I cracked the side of the pie shell. A part of it dissolved. But I'm going to keep this for myself. I'm not going to send this one off to Anthony. So, ladle it in. Maybe 2-3 ladles. Okay. And then use the back of a spoon or a rubber spatula and spread it. Spread it evenly until you reach the top of the pie. So spread. So this, I put in 3 ladles. This is not enough. But I'm just showing you. So I'm going to put you on hold so I can fill up the pie shells. I've showed you how to do it. But I'm not going to have you sit here watching me for 10 minutes filling up the pie shells. So I'll be back in about 10 minutes when I'm done filling up the pie shells. Okay guys, I'm back. So I ended up filling both pie shells. Now, because these are ready-made graham cracker pie shells, it actually took my whole mixture for both pies. I had none left over to put in the refrigerator and munch on as a mousse. If you're using the baked pie shells, I guarantee you will have leftover. If you're making your own vanilla wafer pie crust with the ingredients I gave you, and the instructions will be in the description box. If you do like a deep dish pie plate, you probably won't have any left over. Now, remember when I went to pull the pie shell like an idiot? I went to pull it close to me and I misplaced my finger and I ended up touching the crust. Well, that's all it takes. One crack and the whole edge of my pie crumbled as we were spreading the pie filling. Is this a loss? No, because it's for my family. Okay? And because it's for my family, the fact that a little bit of the edge has crumbled all around, I personally don't care. This is going to chill in the pie. The crust is going to chill. The filling is going to stick to the pie crust. And the crumbs that are on top at the edges, okay, so what? Added bonus. When you put it in your mouth and you're eating pie filling with graham cracker crumb pie, it's going to be the same thing. Plus, I'm going to add Cool Whip on top. So I actually could present this to my family and they'd never know that it crumbled. We know, because my mom knows, I know, the cameraman knows, my husband doesn't know. So if I serve him a piece of this with the Cool Whip on top, he's never going to know that it crumbled, okay? The other one, because I didn't touch it anywhere when we were spreading, didn't crumble at all. So you have to be really careful when you're filling these so that you don't crumble the crust. If that's what you're afraid of, use the baked pie, frozen baked pie shells. Those are easier to fill and spread without breaking the crust. You still can break the crust, but be careful. But it's easier. Maybe for all of this filling, you might need 2 or 3 shells. So it's up to you. Now, this is ready, except for the topping. We can't put the topping on because this needs to chill and set and thicken up. So it's going to thicken up in the fridge and it's going to be dreamy, and I can't wait till tomorrow. So, I told you guys that the graham cracker crusts come with this pie-shaped clear cap that's in the pie shell, and you take it out. There is a piece of paper in it advertising their name, and it's got a picture of the pie. If you want, you can remove that. So throw that piece of paper away. Now you have and I'm just going to remove this piece of sticky glue. It's not really glue. I forget what this is called. It's this elastic stuff they use to stick paper on here. So now this is just a clear cap. So take your cap into your hands. You want your edge of this pie cap to touch the edge of the part that we unfolded. So the teeth. Once you touch it, it's in place. Let it drop, and it drops right into place without disturbing the pie. Okay? And then seal it back up. So now I'm folding the teeth, the aluminum teeth over again. And I'm sealing the pie all around. Okay? That's it. It's all sealed, ready to go into the fridge. It's nice and heavy because you've got, you know, your crust with your pie filling, and it's all nice and sealed. This is going to chill in the fridge overnight, and then tomorrow I'm going to take it out of the fridge. I'm going to come back on video and show you adding. Now, you can add Cool Whip, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add Cool Whip and cinnamon, or you can make your own whipped cream. You take cream, cold whipped cream, very cold, put it in a clean bowl, add as much icing sugar as you would like to your sweetness, taste of sweetness. So maybe, you know, a 500 ml container of whipped cream, and maybe 2 to 4 tablespoons of icing sugar, or otherwise known as confectioner sugar or powdered sugar, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. Whip it until it's nice and thick like pudding, and then add it on top. It's up to you. I'm adding Cool Whip. So I'm going to put this in the fridge and let it chill, let it do its thing in the fridge, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and show you the final result. So, see you tomorrow. Okay guys, we're back and we're ready to decorate our pumpkin chiffon pies. So we have our 2 pies. In my case, one is for Anthony and one is for my family. So they've chilled for overnight. You have to chill them at least 8 hours. When we are having guests, it's always a good idea. Any recipe that you can make ahead of time, so that on the day of your dinner party or whatever the case may be, you don't have to deal with dessert either. So this is actually a great make ahead dessert, because you can make it the day before you want to serve it. So I've pulled the pies out of the fridge. I've opened this one up, meaning I've unfolded these aluminum teeth that go around. I'm going to gently lift, lift the cap by grabbing it from one edge. Okay, so here's our pie, and if you feel it, it's all nice and thick. Okay, so now again, remember, if you're making your own whipped cream, this is what you would do now. There's a few ways you can decorate. You can slop Cool Whip on top and make designs with your spoon or a cookie scoop or something like that. Or you can use an icing bag. Both are good options. Actually, I forgot something, so let me just get it out. All right. So I'm going to open up the Cool Whip, which has been sitting in our fridge since yesterday. So that means it's no longer frozen. It's just beautiful whipped cream that you can eat with a spoon. And it's, for those of you who like whipped cream, it's absolutely delicious. So it's very simple, guys. It's not rocket science. You scoop up cream, put it on top of your pie. So for example, one, you can use a bigger spoon. I'm using a tiny one. Okay. And then what you do is you take the back of your spoon and you rest it on the pie, and you gently go back and forth and spread. Now, let me get a bigger spoon because that's not working. You need a bigger spoon, but you can spread, so you can have 2 spoons. The big one for, whoops. Yes, I'm licking my fingers from the whipped cream. It's a shame to have that go to waste. So you can scoop with your big spoon and then gently apply pressure and spread all around. Now, if you're blind and you're worried, you don't want to go past the edge, you put your finger to where you want to go. And when the spoon touches your finger, you stop. So that's, you start spreading all around, go all around the pie, make a nice thin layer, okay, of whipped cream. Very thin layer, just to cover the pie. Now, I'm not finished doing that, but because I want to show you guys. You can take, sorry, I have water on my hands. So let's say you spread your thin layer. I've done it halfway. You can take a small cookie scoop, which is just a little ball, scoop up whipped cream or Cool Whip from the tub, level it off. Okay. So now you've got a cookie scoop that's full of whipped cream, a leveled cookie scoop. If I put my finger at the edge of the pie crust and I release this, a ball drops. A perfect ball. So you would spread out a thin layer and then you would make little balls over your thin layer so you can make a design. So because I have 2 pies to decorate and I have to spread the thin layer and then I have to do these little balls, it's going to take me a while to do 2 pies, but I've showed you how to do it. I've given you the idea. I'm going to put you guys on hold. I'm going to decorate the pies and I'm going to come back and show you. So see you in a bit. Okay guys, so we finished decorating. And of course I'm going to show you the decorated pie if the cameraman isn't showing it to you already. But I want to tell you that I understand for blind people it can be a little difficult. If you're worried, just grab your whipped cream or your Cool Whip and just spread a nice thick layer on top. No big deal. If you want to follow my instructions, make a thin layer and then with your cookie scoop, go around and make little, drop little balls of whipped cream and it'll give it a nice decoration. When you're finished with the whipped cream, sprinkle cinnamon on top, as much or as little as you would like. I wouldn't put too much because it might overpower the dessert. Your other option is not to spread Cool Whip or whipped cream on top. Cut your pie into individual pieces and plop whipped cream or spread whipped cream or Cool Whip on individual pieces and serve them. But if you're having a party, of course, it's nice to present your pie to your guests with your other desserts or as a standalone dessert already decorated. It looks nice. So I just want to tell you that, and the camera will focus on it, I went around the pie, the diameter of the pie, not exactly at the edge, a little in from the edge. And I dropped little balls of whipped cream. And in the middle, I dropped 3 balls of whipped cream with my cookie scoop. So it kind of looks like a triangle or a flower or something in the middle. And then I took cinnamon and I added a pinch of cinnamon in between the 3 balls that are in the center. And then I went around the pie where my balls of whipped cream are, and I spread cinnamon on top of those whipped cream balls. It took almost a full tub of Cool Whip to do both pies. So this one here that I'm pointing to is already cut up. I cut up a piece for you guys so you can see. This is the one where I mentioned that my crumbs crumbled. Here's the piece that we cut up. Okay? It looks fantastic. And I'll just turn it around slowly so you can see. It doesn't matter that the crumbs crumbled a little. Nobody's going to notice. It looks fantastic. And I'm sure it tastes even better. Now, this one here, the one that I'm sending off to Anthony, I need to seal it back up. So I'm going to take the cap. I'm going to put my finger where the folding teeth are. I'm going to touch my hand so I can find the edge because I don't want to ruin the decoration. So I found the edge and I insert the edge cap into that slot where the teeth are and I'm going to let it drop. Oh, guess what? I overfilled with whipped cream. Sorry, Anthony. So it's going to ruin a little bit because I have to seal it and so I have to squeeze down. So I overfilled a little bit, but that's okay. It's just 1 or 2 balls. So you press down and I got a little whipped cream on my hand. Believe me, it still looks fantastic. It looks very professional and store-bought. I'm going to seal the pie back up. And the truth is, wherever I have presented my pie, people have thought it was store-bought. Because of the packaging, because of the decorating, it just looks like it's a store-bought pie. So imagine, people are going to be very, very, very impressed. So I'm sealing it back up. And then with a napkin, I'm just going to wipe the edges to make sure there's no whipped cream on the outside. Because there might be a little now, because I ended up, maybe I overfilled or I went a little too close to the edge on one of the balls. So I'm just running a napkin around. I've sealed it. And I'm just reinforcing, I'm reinforcing the seal by pressing down and folding. And this is ready to go for Anthony. The pie that I've cut up already, obviously, I've cut up a piece for myself. I'm going to cut up a piece for my mom, but I'm just going to give it a try to let you guys know if this time it was a success. So I'm using a teaspoon and I've cut off a little piece, so hold on. Fantastic. It's creamy, dreamy, airy, just the right amount of spice. If you are a fan of more spice, add more spice at your own risk. To me, this is a perfect balance. This woman, Blair, who invented this recipe or posted it on the internet, I don't know if it's her own or if it's her family's, bravo. I told you guys at the beginning of the episode that I wasn't a fan of pumpkin pie until I came across this recipe. So that's it for our recipe. Fantastic, perfect pumpkin pie. And I want to wish all my fans and friends in the US happy Thanksgiving. I chose to post this particular recipe a week before your Thanksgiving so you have time to prepare for your big family gathering and meal. I hope you try it. If you do, let me know how it turns out. I guarantee you your family will be impressed if you make this. I guarantee you you're going to hear a lot of swooning. It's fantastic. Again, I love you guys very much. A very happy Thanksgiving. And I know it's time of COVID, but we truly do have a lot to be thankful for. Our health, our wellness, our loved ones, everything the good Lord has provided for us. And so we have a lot to be thankful for. It's been a tough couple of years. Again, guys, happy Thanksgiving. See you on the next episode. I am your host, Zoe Fiogos. With sincere love and gratitude, I thank you for watching Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner.